Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the 2015 World's Quarterfinals. As you see, Shocks making some high fives with the crowds. Earlier, we asked you to show us how you at Worlds, and one fan writes in, can't watch, but listening and driving is not against the law. A little audio only, Bluetoothing into the car. That's a dedicated fan right there.
Yeah, it certainly is. I hope he pulled over to take that photo, though, because very, very dangerous to tweet and drive at the same time.
Exactly. Obey the law, please, everybody. Well, now it's time to turn our attention towards the game. You would have expected this game to go a hell of a lot quicker, given the fact that Origin started off with a 4-1 kill lead and about 2K gold within the first few minutes of the game. So what's going on there?
For sure, for sure. Flash Fools had a very sloppy start where they didn't burn flashes to kind of survive, and Origin got this big lead, and they have to do a better job transitioning this into victories, because 2K at 5 minutes, it has to be a victory.
Yeah, and it was weird because, you know, the runner came out and they hit the boxer a couple of times really early. But then they went back to their game plan after about 30 minutes when, I guess, it would pay back, and they were able to set up that really nice Baron play. And that's something that Flash Wolves are going to have to watch out for. They don't play the map as well as what Origin are, but if Origin give them another team comp like that, like Flash Wolves had everything, like that was like a no-ban comp.
I do think that the comps were every team got what they wanted, but the Flash Wolves composition was not played as quickly as it should have. When you have the Rek'Sai with the LeBlanc, you need to be all over the map, just hunting down for kills. There was a lot of opportunities where people were just on their own, easy to pick them off, too slow. And then what happened was the composition from Origin, eventually, 5-man death ball, you're not going to be able to get into that just with a Black Shield. When you're LeBlanc, who is basically melee range for his spells, and Jinx is going to be kept at bay with the wall with the Anivia ultimate. So either Flash Wolves play faster or resort to a more 5-man death ball composition similar to Origin. I like what both teams did with the draft. Step it up, guys, a little faster.
I think they wanted to play faster. Like, I completely understand with what you're saying, but I actually don't blame Maple for this because Karsa had to go bottom lane because he's bottom lane fed, and then he goes bottom lane. They get double TP'd on, so Maple's like, I can't even kill my mid laner. He's not in the lane. What am I going to do? I'll just kill Amazing. So he actually executed well. It was just Karsa wasn't able to help him out and go to the same lane.
I think the first step is to make sure the bottom lane does not die in 2v2s for no reason. Make sure Karsa doesn't
Use your
die
flashes.
Yeah, use your summoner spells, because I feel like there was too much nerves. Because if you are going to give away an advantage like this, you're not going to be able to play to your composition strength, which was in the mid lane, as you highlighted.
Now, let's keep in mind that the teams are switching sides. So, of course, we have the blue-red side conundrum, where we expected blue to have a pretty large advantage. Well, Origin wins their first game on red, so that's already a great start for them. What kind of changes do we expect them to make having that first pick?
I think Origin's composition can draft very similar regardless of side and then still be changed a lot. So, for example, the Darius, Gragas really don't change how the comp is going to go. Then with the last two picks, the Anivia and the Sivir are really the things that can vastly change the composition. So you can really switch it up with things like a Twisted Fate and a Vayne as your last two picks, because the carries are really the highlight of Origin with Expected and Neil. So I think that Origin really has a nice, I guess, blue side advantage this time around because there's only two carries. They're not really worried about SOAS.
Yeah, they also get to ban the Morgana, which came up huge in a couple of team fights. Didn't win in the end, but there were some team fights that he went nuts in that game, sort of.
Well, game one is in the books. It's time to step inside the arena as Origin and the Flash Wolves load up for game two. As we hand it off to the caster, Sword Art says that as we saw in game one, the Flash Wolves will have to look out for Origin's late game if they want to win.
我觉得我们队伍的特点就是我们在前期是一支比较激进的队伍，所以我们常常可以在前期拿到一些蛮好的优势。然后 OG 这个队伍，他们最厉害的地方就是在他们一些中后期的团队的扣上面，还有他们有带双 TP 这个战术，所以他们在后期的转线上面会有更好的去调配。所以我们要在如果游戏进行到后期的时候，我们要去克服。
He was half right. Yeah. They have really good double teleport and they adapt to rotations, but I wouldn't call Flash Wolves an aggressive early game team.
Yeah, I mean, even in the LMS, they had the second longest average game time and the second longest average game time here at Worlds. If you're really aggressive early game, typically your games are a little bit faster. In their mind, they might be trying to be aggressive, but it hasn't actually actualized itself on the Rift.
Yeah, so we'll see if that style ever changes or if the stats kind of continue to rebuff themselves, or buff is the wrong word, build on themselves actually in this one. Speaking of a stat that actually did rebuff, I actually want to talk about Stake briefly because coming to this match, Stake against his average top lane opponent was minus 12.7 CS at 10 minutes. Soaz against his average was plus 6.7. So you run the numbers and you're like, oh, this match should be probably like plus 20 CS for Soaz. Instead, they were exactly equal, which is actually the best laning performance Stake has ever put into the first 10 minutes of the laning phase here. So even the matches we thought would have gone Origin's way, aside from the Baron Pinnacle, obviously, but there wasn't all that much coming out of Soaz, especially early.
I just think it was a very bold composition from Origin that should have probably got punished a lot harder. You pick a losing top lane, you pick what, in my opinion, is a losing bot lane, especially in terms of just shove. And the only window an Alistar lane has to beat you is Pulverize level 2 with Flash. This time they even got caught without Flash, so that was just a big mistake from from NL there, and then the teleports just started rolling in. But if you play this matchup out the same game multiple times in a row, Flash was actually should pull ahead significantly in the early game, combined with a poor scaling build on Nivea. This game could have been over at 20 minutes.
Yeah, and as we're moving into this pick and ban phase, we've talked about how they swapped over to the blue side. And I really wonder at what point will the red side team not ban Mordekaiser and Gangplank? Because you can trade those picks. Maybe give one team Gangplank, you take Mordekaiser, and another powerful thing that you don't ban. Or you can force the blue side into banning either Mordekaiser or Gangplank with their final ban if they don't want to do the trade. But no one so far is forcing the blue side team into being flexible.
You know, this actually happened once. It was Flash Wolves versus Coup Tigers. Coup Tigers actually left up Gangplank for the first pick. The goal being that they would take all the junglers away with a Lisa in ban and a Rek'Sai pick, and then take Lulu as well. Turns out they forgot that, like, Karsa could also play Nidalee, and the whole thing collapsed, and that was the Flash Wolves poke comp when they won in week 1. We see occasionally teams go for that play, but you're right, Chad. I really do want to see teams learn these sort of counter picks to the Mordekaiser and the Gangplank strategies and try to break those apart. Right now, though, Flash Wolves is going to keep the Twisted Fate band they kept from game 1, add the 2 ubiquitous ones. Meanwhile, Origin actually bringing their first Darius band of the tournament. The Varus poke goes away, and now Maples LeBlanc is gone.
I mean, a couple big questions are raised already. Where does the Lulu go, and where does the Jinx go?
I'll answer your first question. Origin first picks Lulu. Flash Wolves would probably play Jinx again.
Soaz answered that for me, man. But, I mean, especially if they're going to be playing against a Jinx, why ban the Varus? Because they could have opened up another ban very easily right here.
Well, this is the thing is, it's what
basically they're forcing them into picking Jinx in first rotation.
Right.
Otherwise, they can threaten the Jinx pick later.
Well, it's what a bunch of teams did against AHQ in the last week as well when they went on a good tear with the Jinx. It was, these teams were banning away the support staff and saying, but we can kill the Jinx herself. Now, that, of course, didn't pan out, and AHQ qualified for the top 8. But that's the goal. Steal the Lulu away, remove the mid lane, or at least the top lane sort of hyperspeed to make the comp work.
And you see the Flash Wolves doubt themselves here. Are we going to pick up Elise? Because they have not shown a tendency to play that early Elise, so Origin might get both really strong picks here, Lulu and Elise, because Flash Wolves just can't play the champion well enough.
Also, the Kalista is up for Niels as well. And in terms of finding a good bot lane matchup, there is the first Elise of the tournament for Karsa. The Jinx, of course, still comes through for NL. And now Origin get to size up their opponents.
Yeah, really forced, in my opinion, to picking the Jinx early there. A lot of times teams don't like picking their AD carry with their first 2 picks on the red side. And they also end up kind of picking away Amazing's Elise. It's actually something that Flash Wolves had banned on blue side a couple of times during group stage, which makes you think Karsa doesn't want to play it. But he's such a mechanically gifted jungler, I imagine he'll be able to.
I would like to see a Morgana steal here from Miffy, because I feel a lot of what NL relies on for staying alive is that Black Shield. It's actually strong into at least 2. You can block cocoons, and the Black Shield doesn't even get touched because cocoons deal 0 damage.
Kalista.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually the first time Origin hasn't first picked Kalista when it was up for them. So realizing that the Lulu was more important, that Kalista wasn't going to go over to NL anytime soon. The Rek'Sai comes through anyway, so Origin still actually hiding a lot of their important roles here. Lulu, of course, can go top or mid and maybe even support, so hiding that one for now, hoping Flash Wolves show one of these lanes that Lulu can go into a good matchup.
Yeah, and I think Crepo's right about the Morgana at least. You could have done Morgana Kalista. That actually is a pretty decent lane, but this would make the most sense for Flash Wolves. Not only do they need it to protect NL, who, by the way, had nearly 1,000 damage per minute last game as well, so sticking to his average of doing substantially more than every other Jinx. A lot of that is because they pick compositions that can peel and protect him. And with the Elise, it's a really old school composition. One binding into a cocoon. It's 5 seconds of immobility for the person who gets hit by that if they don't build Mercury Treads, and it's usually certain death.
Absolutely so. couple of engaged tools coming in for Flash Wolves, and to follow up on your Elise point, someone told me Karsa is 1-1 on the split for Elise. So 2 Elise games for the entire summer split. Not exactly a veteran.
Flash Wolves are drafting another clear identity composition. There's only one thing you want to do, is group up and siege with this composition, or group up and teamfight and protect that Jinx over and over.
Yeah. On the analyst desk at the start of the day, Crumb said Stake had been the rock for Flash Wolves in the top lane, and Crumb and I kind of looked at each other and like, he's been down like 12 CS to 10, is that really? Then I pointed the fact that he played Malphite once. And
Nice
now
fun.
he's truly a rock in the top lane. Thanks, Crumb.
Nice pun.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is good. Chat's coming to the dark side.
Nice pun.
Thanks. And here we go, guys. The Anivia hover in for Xpeke. Interesting.
Origin need wave clear right now against this composition that really wants to group up, especially in the mid lane. We talked about how Origin plays a spread out style, and Flash will center themselves a lot in that mid lane, looking for both sieges and kills. They want wave clear. If Anivia is the answer, I'm not quite sure. Apparently to Origin it is.
And they unbench the Kench.
This is truly going to answer. It's an AD carry and support who can save each other.
Oh, man.
It's so hard for someone to get caught out in this fight. I love the Tahm Kench specifically into Flash Wolves. The solution to a person getting caught out for 5 seconds of immobility is you just eat them in the middle of it and throw them to safety.
So if Mythy eats the egg from Xpeke and then gets pulled in by Fate's Call, transfer both?
What happened?
Transfer the egg away.
Well, really, I want to do more testing on this matchup, because what happens if your Fate's, there's just too many things. You can eat while like a Fate's Call is casting. Can Kalista throw herself? Like, I want to know all these questions.
I think it's done. I don't know if you can, because
It locks you out of spells, but I'm wondering if you could use them both
I don't
at
think
the
you can
same
devour
time.
Fate's Call. Maybe you can. Someone will tell me I'm wrong on Twitter, but I'm going to bet that you can't do it. And we're going to see what the last pick is in for Flash Wolves now, what their mid lane pick is going to be into this Anivia.
I actually like Anivia into Victor. If Maple ends up playing that, I think that's a fine matchup for Anivia overall.
Okay, so a team fight mid laner for Maple. This is first non-assassin of the World Championship. Victor coming through here, and of course 0-1, they could really use some victory.
Yeah, he had played 3 LeBlanc games, Gangplank, Yasuo, Ahri, and Echo up until this point.
I mean, victory usually gives you good wave clear, which leads you to...
Yeah, once you evolve it. Nice pun.
Thank you.
I mean, you really just used my pun, but it's okay. You get credit. And we are
stealing your puns.
Yeah, it's normal. We do it back and forth. Either way, guys, we are done with picks and bans. You can see Origin looking at that same double TP strategy, and also their second Anivia game in a row. This will be an interesting one to watch for there, as they don't have that same late game AD carry power. They don't have a crit AD carry for Niels, who would put out some decent damage as Sivir. So now they're up against that same difficult Jinx team fight, and now even stronger Victor team fight without the same kind of DPS themselves.
Peke needs to keep his ulti up a lot of time in these fights. So Kalista and Anivia in fights as your two like hyper carries, so to say, can get your low damage composition overall. And the difference is Flash Wolves now actually have the tools to close the gap. They can get to Kalista, they can get to the Anivia. Sure, you may be able to wild growth them, but just Malphite ulti in, they need to flash those ultis. Those carries will need to even get distortion boots to get out of those ultis.
Yeah, and you talk about long duration Nivea ults, but both Victor ult and Malphite ult can stop that, so it might be a tough road ahead for Origin, but if you believe that they can do it, they're on the blue side this time around. Tweet hashtag OG went at Lali Sports, or if you think Flash Wolves can make that comeback and bring it at least to a game 4, hashtag FW win. Guys, you at home are always part of this series, and you here in London are amazing, and we here on the desk are ready to cast it. Game 2 of the quarterfinals is coming up. Origin looking to make it 2-0.
And I love how variant the team compositions are from game 1 to game 2. I want to see how these teams constantly adapt to each other throughout this series. I also did receive confirmation as far as the Kalista Tahm Kench interactions. Tahm Kench can eat someone, then gets fake called, and throw both. It even works on enemies. So if Tahm Kench can somehow eat NL, he can throw himself backwards and really
This is the new Ballista composition here.
Yeah.
No.
That's Blitz Kalista.
Yeah, that was Ballista, but this is the new iteration of it.
It's like a trebuchet?
You become the bullet.
Now it's artillery. Like, I don't even remember what they upgrade to in Civilization, but either way, we are getting ourselves into this one. 1 minute into the game. Standard laning assignments so far from pretty much everybody. He hides in the fog, and Niels just chilling at the tri-brush.
This is an incredibly annoying lane to lane against, though. Tahm Kench combined with Kalista. Kench can walk up slow. That doesn't really get punished. If you're focusing, then Niels gets the time to attack. If Tahm Kench is allowed to get close enough, though, then in addition to his own passive like procs that he makes. He sets up the W proc from Kalista too. So a lot of damage coming out. So NL and Sword Art at all costs have to keep people away from them. If they close the gap, an aggressive flash from Miffy could spell demise for either NL or Sword Art.
Yeah, and they had such a disastrous early laning phase in game 1 against the Alistar. I'd expect them to actually be playing the early laning phase quite passive.
Well, we'll see how the lanes pan out as we start ourselves into the game. We will have mirror duo lanes. Both of them going to start with a jungle camp. Niels and Mithy starting the Krugs. Crepo?
No comment. Right? No comment.
No comment?
The efficiency.
I think it's actually the smart way to do it, though. Pulling the big one denies an auto attack, spread out the passives. Don't steal it on support, even though you want level 2. Look at how low Morgana gets, though, from doing these Grom start. You can actually out-pressure them right now and win the race to level 2.
Hey, you got Targon stacks. The first 2 minions are free, so as soon as the wave comes in, you can knock those down. Soaz and Amazing going to be taking down the Krugs, and Soaz is given the blue buff, by the way. So in his one-on-one, he's got the buff lead.
That's what most top lane jungle pairing should do if your top lane uses mana and you have a Rek'Sai. In the game, Rek'Sai has very minimal benefits off the blue buff early on in the game. So I like that call. We'll see if he can out-pressure Stake. Also, a lot of times you would see the Malphite get a blue buff if he's going to be in a lane swap scenario. But 2 games in a row, no lane swaps.
I just want to see where these junglers meet up, because they both start on the top side of the map, pathing downwards for either a gank in mid from the right side or a potential bot lane gank, because we've seen a lot of explosions, but again, this time double teleport on the side of Origin, whereas Flash Wolves are running Ghost on their mid laner.
So once again, Maple picking for the matchup one-on-one, even though he wasn't getting that much done in it. Peke can make some good TP plays. Mithy taking some poke, doesn't care too much about. Of course, Dark Bindings are never going to affect Niels, but Mithy can just eat the guy, so this matchup going to be hard to win.
You have a safety blanket to if Niels gets hit. It's already incredibly hard to hit that guy. Phenomenal AD carry player. And then Miffy can move up and just soak the bindings every time, because if you don't use it on him and he suddenly sidesteps it, well, then you're in a whole lot of danger there, because you can get eaten and then Niels can simply kill you.
And look at Soaz already making a lot of moves here. Now, both players do have Summoner Teleport. So as far as getting back to base and healing back up, that's not a problem. Also, both junglers currently on the bottom side of the map, so no dives either, but Peke finding those pushes.
The mark of a good Anivia player. I see Jazz smile.
His E with his Q in the air. Crepo, it's the seal of approval for his Anivia. You'd hope if he's played it 3 games at Worlds, he knows how to play Anivia.
Doesn't deactivate R.
He's freak.
Some of the minor mechanic points. Now, but honestly, yeah, it's been a great...
He's stacking his tier. That's what he was doing. 1 tick at a time.
I mean, you also get a stack for deactivating.
Which he gets more stacks if he leaves it on. It's true.
I know. Well, I mean, it depends on the cooldown. Well, more trades, though. This is actually going pretty well for Maple. Of course, Peke, again, does have teleport. He can leave, get back in.
Cheeky little move there from Maple. Hides in Fog of War on the side. This is what we actually saw a lot in Season 1 and 2. Morganas will always hide in that brush and throw their skill shot out. Cancels Xpeke's base, so...
Yeah, this is actually
base from
a poor place in the lane for Xpeke to be. And it leaves him vulnerable. It would leave Amazing vulnerable to counter jungling. It also makes his bottom lane dangerous because Amazing has no presence in that lane, and that means Karsa can sneak in behind. That's one of the reasons Maple is playing so aggressive.
And he can't teleport into the bot lane
because he's too low.
Cocoon lands is going to be the run away as the bind didn't hit Miffy.
Hey, it cost them the flash at least, so it is not a victimless gank. But still, nice little save there by Miffy and Niels. The binding going wide is the biggest thing there.
Xpeke really hates missing CS. In a previous game, we've seen him base back the lane with teleport on 40% mana. This time, he bases back with teleport on 80% HP. He doesn't even wait to regen up. He just instantly wants to get back to that lane. Unless he got hit by a laser. Could have been hit by a laser.
We've seen a lot of times, though, Peke, with teleport, can be losing the lane or dying, but keeping his CS up. He values it so highly in the early game, often to the detriment of Origin because he loses a lot of pressure within the mid lane because of that. One unfortunate thing for him this game is even though he's been going the Rod of Ages build, he didn't have enough gold to back and get the Rod of Ages, so he's actually gone for a tier. Meanwhile, Maple got a very ideal back timing. Victor wants to go back after he's reached 1,000 gold, and then a little bit more to even pick up a pink ward.
Karsa snuck in, no Q.
Yeah, that's going to be a Cocoon landing. The gravity well underneath Peke just gets a quarter of a second to flash away.
And even if he doesn't die here, because of that tier build, this is what we very often see in Anivia matchups. Maple on level 6 can flash on top of Peke, dodge the Q, and then just goes together with his ultimate and simply 1v1 Pekka later on. So this is big. Karsa landing that Cocoon from Bush is absolutely massive if they can follow up on this.
Of course, the bot lane is winning pretty handily for Origin right now. No level 6 just yet, so no easy Fates call plays, but big CS lead down there.
And the top lane is as well. So the side lanes for Origin are playing very, very aggressively, which is what we'd expect from Origin. And this is more of the lane performance from Soaz that we wanted to see in Game 1 from him. Stake on Malphite, it's a bad matchup for the Malphite, especially when Lulu got to start with the blue buff. So he needs to actually punish that hard. And unless Karsa comes up, Soaz is going to get that top turret. He's already got it about 3/4 down.
And might just keep going this way. They've already both burned their first teleports for some items. You can see the double Doran's Ring start for Soaz really itemizing for the laning phase itself for early pressure, and it's working.
Look at how Maple shifts his playstyle. Instead of just pushing the lane over and over, he is now switching to a more zoning-oriented style. He wants Pekka to walk up for CS. If he has to use any spells, Maple can sidestep and really win that trade over and over. And Pekka is slowly being whittled down, and he's still a ways off that Catalyst.
Well, if Stake can find a gank, he can always land the ulti onto Soaz. Lulu, of course, does have flash, but Stake will be forced back before his teleport is back up. Amazing scouts out the map, but Sword Art's already playing for the early lane swap. They got the BF Sword and immediately run top lane to get out of that matchup.
The timing of this lane swap from Flash Wolves is actually very good because they will now effectively save this turret for a long period of time and stop a potential turret snowball right in its tracks. Now they're actually hoping for a turret trade, which is advantageous for Jinx. Flash Wolves has done this quite well in the past where they realize they have a losing lane and then swap to equalize that lane. It does sacrifice a dragon most of the time, but it's a trade that Flash Wolves has been surprisingly willing to take.
And of course, with Origin keeping the lanes as they are, you expect NL and Sword Art to actually probably kill this top lane turret before too long. BF Sword, Jinx level 6, pretty good at destruction here. So even though Peke will hold the mid lane and Niels can push down bottom, it'll be a trade probably.
I just want to see Stake go mid. Go flash on Nivea. Malphite ulti combined with the spells from Victor on just a single tier. Nivea is enough to one-shot at any position under the tower. And then you can even maybe get the egg afterwards. So could definitely be a play that the Flash Wolves are looking for.
Karsa hanging around right now. Mithy actually joining Soaz there, so Kalista was alone and is actually fighting Stake by themselves. You see a lot of red stacks though. Stake, of course, did itemize towards armor. Notice the fact that he wanted to be in this matchup, didn't go Cowl first, knew he was going to be fighting the AD carry and bought cloth armor on the second back.
Yeah, and also note that Karsa has already completed Sightstone at about 7 minutes and 45 seconds and gotten 2 deep wards in the blue jungle during the lane swap. Flash Wolves initiated the lane swap early, got deep wards, and if trends hold, Amazing won't get that Sightstone until about 15 minutes for the same level of ward coverage. So even though Origin is stronger in full-on fights, we'll see if Flash Wolves can use some of this vision advantage they get from the earlier warding upgrades to pull something out.
And again, we're approaching 10 minutes, 0-0 on the board, and this is a style Flash Wolves are incredibly comfortable playing. They really want these slow 0 to 15 games, these okay 15 to 30 minutes, but then these explosive post-30 games where just NL can AoE crit people to death with his rockets.
Pretty much Jinx the team.
A Jinx and Ra composition?
Yeah.
Except literally it's just a Jinx. Like, and you get a black shield, all right. It's more about the play style around him than necessarily the team composition.
For the steal, not gonna do it. Successful blue buff goes over, but Soaz actually, because of all the help he was getting from Mithy, and with Karsa running down to the bottom side, just pressure was gained, and Soaz, high level on Lulu, gets the turret anyway.
Huge swing in the game, really. Soaz with the 2-level advantage over NL, even though he was up against an AD carry. That's a situation where the support swapping with the top laner was really bad for the AD carry. So Flash Wolves actually has to abandon that lane swap because they realized even when they swapped, they were losing both sides. Really big credit to Origin for finding the creative solution to that lane swap. And instead of swapping Niels up to match, they just kept Soaz there because they were able to complete the work Soaz did earlier on the turn.
A lot of teams are afraid to leave Kalista solo in the lane because you lose the ability to proc that W passive, in addition that she can get run down. But because Stake was so far behind and he was comfortable just dodging the ulti with Flash, worst case, he was comfortable in that 1v1, just farming.
They go back into this matchup with the top lane turret already gone, and it's a 30 CS lead for the Origin AD carry.
Pekka's Flash is back available right now too, so he did not get punished at all for using that early summoner. He picks up a little bit of health too with that Ruby Crystal, but he's switching his build. Looks like he's going to go for an early Athenes instead. An early Seraphs instead.
No, actually, because that builds into Neutral Arts Rod now. This is only the Rod of Ages.
You're right.
Yeah, I got changed.
I
It threw
yield.
me for a loop too.
I yield.
Hey, we know these guys play 40-plus minute games, so a late Rod of Ages, we were over this last game.
Nice.
It's generally okay, but it will delay the power spike for sure. Although it will increase the timing of him completing both the Seraphs and the Rod of Ages together. Just weaker for longer and then stronger faster.
See if they can get through that lull. Meanwhile, Origin pushing amazing towards the top side. I don't know if Deep Ward's going to mean much. Baron's not up, and 2 turrets almost definitely not going to be killed, so a bit strange to use the time there. The double teleport of Origin has not yet been used. There hasn't been that over-aggression of the Flash duo lane. Let the kills come in earlier.
Origin's played both of these early games quite well. Game 1, they were able to make aggressive moves early in the lane and utilize their teleport advantage to create gank advantages. This game, they're just playing their lanes very aggressively, and Flash Wolves isn't countering that. Maybe because they got burned a little bit by teleports in the last game, it's just leading to a pretty substantial, even lane, like standard laning phase, but giving them a big lead.
Flash Wolves have yet to take a first tower in this entire tournament. They're playing so passive overall, and Peke right now, he can continuously use his teleport on cooldown to get back to lane to keep the wave clear up. So it's impossible to kill Soas's tower. It's impossible to kill Peke's tower. It's maybe possible to kill Carson in a jungle though.
They're going to eat him up. Spiders for lunch, and here we go. A bunch of burst comes in, forced to flash. Black Shield is on, and they're going to turn back onto Amazing. First blood comes through, the rocket misses, but here comes Anivia, and another kill comes back 1-for-1, and Origin leave the jungle.
Yeah, considering the investment Origin put into that one, trading kills amongst mid laners is actually not that huge of an edge.
Especially when Flash Wolves gets first blood.
Yeah, a little bonus right there. Does assert some vision control within that side of the jungle though, which now we'll see if Origin can put that pressure into the bottom side.
So is even having a harder time dealing with Stake anymore. Okay, he's plus 20 CS, he kind of threw that back up there, but you just saw the last sort of remnants of a trade recently, and it wasn't exactly great for Soaz. The team's done now, maybe we'll make that matchup a bit better. You look back at the bottom lane, and this one's actually still pretty incredible. Plus 24, and that turret is not taking too much damage because Origin are afraid of getting died. Or counter ganked, rather.
Blade of the Ruined King being completed. I don't know why Mithy would do that.
It gives you move speed when you eat an ally, so if you're trying to get back in the lane from like warding or something, there's a possibility that it matters. And they expect you not to get ganked. But it saves you like a quarter second. It's barely worth it.
Just testing that Devour mechanic.
Yeah. Testing. Can I eat you? Yeah, okay.
I can.
Awesome.
Does this still work?
Yeah.
Okay, it does. Good. Good to know for later on.
Meanwhile, he's sitting at less than half mana. Probably not the best test.
Not exactly efficient. Hit YOLO. Win at Worlds. Test abilities. Not an important game or anything.
You have a buffer. They're already up 1-0.
Oh, that's true. You know what? Or they can just throw this game.
They just got to win 2 of the next 4.
50%. Flip coins. You'll do better than Spawn.
This Anivia pick though, it makes so much sense against a team that is so slow. Flash Wolves, it's a little risky into LeBlanc, but Peke is comfortable playing it. Into the Victor, it's fine. It just becomes a wave clear matchup. You press E, I press R, we both start with the wave, it disappears.
It's
Game goes on.
Yeah, it's totally a farm matchup. Often it also punishes the person who gets aggressive because both Victor and Anivia are stronger when the opponent's running at them than running at their opponent. So really, very little will happen in that mid lane.
They both got kills on people in the enemy jungle, and we look, even though we are tied by most metrics, it's a 2,000 gold lead for Origin, mostly from farm.
Interesting that Mithy went for a non-mobi boot approach in the supports. He actually usually likes those mobility boots to get wards in, but because he's playing such a front line, and he just wants to soak up cooldowns, and then eat up his allies anyways, just to save them, he goes for it.
Yeah. Knowing that the CC chain is what kills you on Flash Wolves, it's actually a really smart purchase by Mithy. I've seen far too many players go Ninja Tabi against the team with
good wall here by Peke.
Great zone.
Gonna block the movement away from the team so no one can stop Origin from knocking this turret down. Beautiful play. Makes the turret score 2-0.
Can't wave clear if you're not there. Really good wall, just blocking Maple right here after you picked up that blue buff. And very often, that's a mistake we still see too often. Why do you need that blue buff? So you can wave clear more. Why do you need a wave clear? To save that tower. Well, if you go to the blue buff and you lose your tower in the process, it doesn't make sense at all.
That was cute.
That's interesting.
Gives the Targon stack over to Niels. That was awesome.
Mithy's played
League
Tom
of
Kench
Legends.
before.
Yeah, he knows his mechanics better than Peke's Anivia.
Nice little play.
Peke knows his mechanics on Anivia Freak. We've already been over he was stacking his tier.
Yeah, okay.
Please,
Nice.
harping on this one little point. Give the
nice
guy a
beat.
break. He's played for like 5 years. This is fifth. This is he was Season 1 World Champion Freak.
Yeah.
That's
Where
when
were,
Anivia
where
was
were
huge.
you in Season 1?
Casting the World Championship, where were you?
Were you talking about the Anivia mechanic then? Peke probably knew
No
how
one
to
played
do
the
it.
champion.
I actually subbed
He
for
was huge
Fnatic.
back in Season 1
that
Worlds.
mechanic wasn't in Anivia back in Season 1. It got added this
All
year,
right.
so I don't want to hear your crap, chat.
All right, mate. Calm down.
All right, nice banter.
Some,
Cheeky?
some witty bats.
Cheeky.
Well, 3,000 gold is nearly the lead here. That mid lane turret going down.
We
definitely
do
helped.
have the time to talk about these mechanics.
Yeah, you're right.
It's slow.
I was trying to get us back on track
Well,
with the scoreline.
yeah.
You just threw it right back off.
A lot of it has to do with just item threshold. So Soas has hit a pretty large amount of CDR, going at themes, which is a little bit slower than the Morellonomicon build you see out of many Lulus, but will allow him to push harder against Stake, whose only way of fighting back is with magic damage. Peke finishes Rod of Ages, Abyssal Scepter is completed onto Maple. So really, teams just hitting the power spikes, but at relatively the same time. So it's kind of tough for the teams to punish.
Starting to regret that Deficio's not here because he always loves harping about Victor builds, and we see Abyssal first picked up by Maple here on that Victor. That's something we're not quite used to seeing. You are running it into double AP, but it's just it stalls your damage. Usually Victors go for a heavy AP build with CDR boost just to blow you up, blow you out of the water immediately. He's going for a very defensive Victor build overall.
I think Flash will just have more damage as a team, though, if you look at the roster there. So surviving the initial run of it, I guess up for debate. Crepo shook his head and said, I don't think so. So
It'll really depend on the fight, because we know how much late game damage
seen it
Dukes
before.
can do. Still, Maple's just having to walk through those places.
uh-oh, the whole team's going around. An amazing tank sub binding to the face. A stun comes back through, and a Karsa flashing away, but it doesn't matter because the Chaos Storm. Maple gets the kill. A great flank by the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, punishing Origin for trying to move up. They were pushed to that turret, but they didn't have the ward control to track where Flash Wolves would be rotating. However, in doing so, they exposed the bottom turret. Really smart of Niels to immediately push that minion ward.
Yeah, kill for tower, generally okay trade. Keep the map under control. Flash was looking to capitalize with a dragon here. But this is something we'll see more from Expected in this matchup. Hang on, teleport coming in. And Soas flanking.
And Mythy bought some time as well, so Flash will actually give up on this one. Peke has TP. And of course, Amazing already popped an ulti, so the team's still drawing battle lines back and forth. Maple shields the Q, doesn't take too much damage there. Rek'Sai pokes in from the side. Stake is back to the top lane, has teleport up, and can use that to join this fight, though, and it looks like he just might. Here comes the re-engage on a one-hit point ward. Karsa comes back in, Stake to buy some time, and the Dragon goes to Flash, but the fight is not done yet. Stake comes up with the rest of the team, walks towards the left. They do not yet look for Peke here. Cocoon misses, and they will not land the stun on Karsa, who repels up. So it's going to look for the Glitter Lance, does land it. Karsa very low, has to flash out.
Such a weird fight right there as Peke teleported into the mid lane, which allowed Flash Wolves to sneak into the middle of that a little bit. And then a missed rend by Niels allows the smite to consume it for Karsa. Flash Wolves gets a dragon in a tricky situation, but how much pressure will they lose?
Yeah, mediocre wall there by Expected. Needs to work on his Gandalf impersonation. Did let them pass, in fact, but he had some really nice stunts to follow that up overall. Really good predict on NL. He walked straight into the stun, chunked him, forced the Black Shield. So Flash Wolves after that moment couldn't fight anymore. So they were very happy that they got that dragon, and then some good prediction, forcing Karsa eventually to flash out.
Yeah, Niels didn't want a Malphite to be right next to him at the start of this, so he does honor it with the zone. And he saw Karsa that was going to come in for the bite smite, which is roughly 1,000 damage execute, so I can see why Niels would miss that. He still probably should have waited a little bit longer because he basically just gave the dragon.
Well, Flash Wolves do get on the board as far as dragons. They had already knocked down a turret as well. That was down to the bottom lane earlier. We bring this to a 2,000 gold game.
We see just how hard it is to make any semblance of a siege into Anivia. Peke can even wall you off if you're threatening his zone, so you really want a Baron to really beat that Anivia. Once you get those minions almost immune to magic damage, just very little damage taken, then you can start sieging on the Anivia. Or you need to really split push, but that's not going to happen into Soas' wave clear, so we could see a very heavy emphasis from Flash Wolves on this Baron. In addition that their comp just punishes you walking in. If you're walking into the dark, into Binding, Cocoon, and Stake with Malphite ulti, that is really hard to do, so Origin will need to keep their vision control up.
Right now, looking at their vision, they've got really just wards around the river. There's one slightly deep in the mid lane. You're seeing that here to watch some of the movements. But Flash Wolves actually kind of own this entire southern jungle quadrant right now. Karsa, he's got some wards down. He's got some Spiderlings looking at what's going on around here. And Flash Wolves have the chance of making a play around this side of the map. Now, we once again see the matchups pan out. Stake is matching up against Deals, and Maple hitting the bot lane up against Soaz.
And look what Miffy's doing. If for whatever reason Xpeke can't get in range to safely put his ulti, well, he can put it unsafely. Miffy can simply just eat him whenever he gets bound and just drag him back to the tower. So almost impossible to do anything in mid lane, which is Flash Wolves' favorite lane. They play a very centric style, and they're just not working against this Anivia pick.
Yeah, and so far Flash Wolves has had trouble keeping up with Origin since Origin has been winning and pushing the lanes consistently. Karsa has been ineffective on this Elise pick, and now they're going a little bit under the turret, but Stake is a bit of a rock.
Get that great help though from Miffy.
Oh, that binding hits though? So he eats him.
Ta-da!
That was actually a spot for Malphite to ult Mithy though. He had actually had turret dagger, that's why his health got so low. You can't shield during a stun, so if Stake ults him, he probably, well, I guess it's
Kalista Fates called him out.
Yeah,
so
I forgot. This lane is impossible to
it's
kill.
so hard to play against. It's like a Thresh Kalista where they can both save themselves and each other. It gets even harder because of just the hearts he sees.
Cocoon lands, Mithy doesn't care. Niels presses R.
Yeah. Like Thresh Kalista, except you can save them through hard CCs.
Yeah,
that's true.
You can remove them from the map. They're
shorter
gone.
ranged at least. All right, so the recalls with, oh, no, we're gonna go back to the lane here. So Origin putting actually a lot of effort in making this top lane happen, but a defensive pink ward by Karsa gets rid of some of the vision, and there's really not a lot of resources around there. Amazing is no tunnels on this side of the map. He can't show up either.
And Maple, he's looking for a very different approach here on Victor, going for that Abyssal into Lich Bane, saying he wants to repetitively cast a lot of spells and he wants to make these fights long with repetitive spell usage as opposed to being like a one bomb of a Victor, just blow somebody up immediately.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different approaches to Victor. I think Lich Bane is one of the most underutilized, but it does make the Victor a riskier pick.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big reasons. If he's going to be bringing Ghost as a summoner spell, it's more apt to the Lich Bane style because he's getting in range for the auto attacks to proc the Lich Bane. And it's a very kite-based style, maybe trying to just kill the front line. It's also very, very good at killing the front line on Victor. We'll see how that ends up playing out because it takes a long time to activate. It really won't be that powerful until not only after Lich Bane, but then his big ability power item. And it really makes the build not come fully together until you're pretty much item capped, especially with the Abyssal Scepter in there. He's got to go Lich Bane, third upgrade on his Hex Core, Death Cap, then you're still not talking about Void Staff.
Yeah.
It actually makes it so you can't build that Zhonya's Hourglass if you want to hit your max ability power. So it's a very convoluted build, but can still be effective.
I think it's the wrong build in this approach, though. Really against Origin with, again, double carry, you just want to wait for a misposition from Miffy, flash in, blow him up.
Specifically against Nivea Lulu as well, because those are two that are very good kiters, and the Lich Bane is actually a build that wants to kite itself. It's interesting choice for Maple. It's more assassin-based, which is kind of his playstyle.
It does at least give him movement speed. He got the distortion upgrade for his boots as well, so a lot of move speed for the champion. But we'll see how it pans out in teamfights. The top lane pressure finally works out, and Origin knocked down turret number 4.
I mean, look at who's in the mid lane. Jungle support and mid laner, 5 against 3, can hold that tower. That should never happen usually, but because of the mechanics of a Tahm Kench and the easy wave clip from Anivia, Origin take an easy tower top. If he takes the bind, he has to flash too.
Surprised amazing even a flash with Mithy having his W up right there could save anyone. Yeah, that seems weird.
There is an exposure in the mid lane right here, though, because there's a lot of split push pressure going on for Origin. We've been talking so much about these Victor builds. We haven't really talked about how Flash Wolves is getting crushed.
And look at all those damage coming across, though. And Niels predicts the flash, but burns Rend, but only to get rid of some minions, so he's got the Rend back up for Stake. Stake ults over the wall, and there's the flash, another Rend, but Niels no longer has any CC. This Q could allow Stake to run the hops. Still landing long range. Snipe actually gets the kill.
That's a flank.
And here comes Mithy, gets stunned, gets pretty deaded. Maybe not the greatest. Soaz forced to flash away. Rocket not gonna land, but Neil's still on the chase. Gravduel buys some time in a beautiful wall, but Karsa just jumps to the minions. A 1-for-1 overall.
So sequence of events. First of all, Origin overextend a little bit when they get too comfortable. They have to blow 2 flashes. They react really well with some fantastic mechanical plays to even that out on Niels. But overall, you see that little greed again on Origin. Amazing and Miffy shouldn't be up that far in the mid lane initially. But because they always find these good plays, they do stay ahead.
Yeah.
1,000 gold.
I think that was a series of myth plays, actually, by the people who were dead. Flash uses his flash, or Stake uses his flash and Unstoppable Force escaping. But with the distance he covered, he could have been in his own base with that escape instead of dying towards the Baron buff. And then secondly, Mithy comes in by himself, no other threat to spit out, is instantly killed before anyone can arrive. Those are just mistakes, and it ends up for a kill on both sides. And this happens so much for Flash Wolves. They're only 2,000 gold down 26 minutes in, but it feels like they've been getting destroyed for the first 26 minutes.
The thing is, they're tied in turrets, they're up a kill, they're tied in dragons. It's just the farm. It's just standard Origin gameplay where they greed for farm. There's a 40 CS lead for the AD carry, a 50 CS lead in the mid lane, 30 up in the top lane. They're just killing more little robotic, helpless minions.
We actually tracked this in the period from 15 to 30 minutes. On an average game, Origin farms 75 minions more than the Flash Wolves in the average game. So that's exactly the goal differential that we're probably seeing here.
But also, between 15 minutes and 30 minutes, Origin is the least bloody team at Worlds. That's total kills and deaths in that period of the game.
And most of the blood is them dying. They're just getting caught clear
because they're
side
literally
lane.
just farming at this point in the game. But just wait till later in the game. Obviously, it won't happen exactly at 30 minutes like it did last game.
I mean, if a European team is going to do well at Worlds, it is with a very late game, a Nivea-centric style, always very supreme.
That's how Moscow 5 did so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
An
okay,
aggressive
got
counter
it.
jungler, a really unique mid laner,
Yeah.
and one of the best supports in Europe. Moscow 5. Sword Art running away though. Chomper is trying to a bit of time, has to flash away from the binding. Now Karsa, whoa, didn't want to be there. Mithy takes a bind, but you know, he's got, yeah, there you go. You got a teammate.
Stake is right there though.
Gets knocked up. Mithy's got to be a bit careful. Has some gray help though. Stake doesn't really want to be in this fight. Hazuldy, there we go. A massive knockup, and here comes the chain CC and the damage. There come the resets, and Jinx is excited to start knocking people down. Peke has to flash. Zap will hit. Oh no, Peke. The wall buys some time, but the binding lands, and here comes the re-engage Cocoon on a Chompers on the death, and Flash Wolves kill everybody.
It's unbelievable the way Flash Wolves consistently finds these team fights, but it's not quite over yet. Rek'Sai on the way. Neil sealed up. These are some very low Flash Wolves, but they pack a lot of damage.
And he comes in amazing. He cannot be allowed to steal this. And Sword Art does die. It's a 1-for-1. Baron still goes over. Niels has to run. Dodge the zap.
Oh, that's the Victor speed though.
And he's a pretty quick one. Maple says goodbye. 8-3 Flash Wolves with a delayed ace for 1 kill.
But Origin, with the disrespect, they had multiple exits out of that fight and they chose to fight. Just keep an eye on Stake. He goes in at any given moment. Right here, they can disengage, they can leave Stake alone. They still decide to fight with an Nivea Q, Wall and R down. And then it's the easiest ulti from Stake's life. Maple flashes over and wombo combo.
Origin groups up in far too small of an area. Malphite ultimate should not be able to hit 3 when Origin has been split pushing down 4 to 5 turrets here. And then Flash Wolves just out-executes the instant Origin makes a mistake.
Yeah, they wait for the egg to almost be over, chain binds the Cocoon, then Peke drops. And we saw it last game too. How do you win with a Nivea composition? You kite. You don't run into them because they can turn the fight on you. If you let them walk to you, you can use those spells so easily. Combine it with a Lulu who does exactly the same. How long will it take this game for Origin to learn their mistake again?
Well, Karsa right now on the wrong side of this fight takes turret aggro, gets a shield, all as well. Niels, though, chunked down to under 1,000. Yep, thanks to the Jinx damage.
NL's at that late game point already. Full, like the highest possible damage, 3-item Jinx build. Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper. Low on the lifesteal, high on the damage. And it's a huge threat for Origin, who's trying to split push with the Lulu right now. This is really dangerous.
Peke gets saved by Mithy. The front line is safe, and down goes the tier 2 turret at the top lane. 1,600 gold lead for the Flash Wolves. The push towards Peke. The Flash Cocoon lands. It's not quite enough to kill him, though, as Peke gets a shield and a summoner heal as well. And here comes another chance for the fight. Mithy gets saved, runs himself back. Origin get away.
Origin having to use every single one of their kiting and staying alive tools, and they barely stop that from turning into a disaster. If Peke goes down, they probably lose an inhibitor cleanly. They're still in danger, though.
Well,
nice
so
ball.
is Maple. Takes a bunch of damage.
Gotta
Now
eat
the
'em.
Chaser coming through many, many stuns, but NL is overextended, but Niels can't do the damage through the summoner heal. 4 poke comes by, no stun. Ghost used by Maple, trying to get away fast. 50 seconds on the next dragon. It's only one apiece. That won't be a exactly game-turning dragon. But we'll see which team gets it.
Yeah, Niels needs to be able to find really aggressive positioning in these fights, I feel like, for Origin to win, because they have, like, we were talking about this earlier, the perfect trinity of protection on your team. You have your AD carry and your Lulu, but then if either of those guys get focused because they can kind of protect each other, you also have Mithy to eat him and keep him safe. It's worked amazingly with Jinx, which is a higher damage AD carry.
Yeah.
Kalista's going to have to play very aggressively to make it work, though.
But that's the problem, is Tahm Kench works when your team is winning. Tahm Kench works when you're saving from very specific long cooldowns. Like, he's good against Assassins, good against Zed, good against LeBlanc, things like this. But Maple has low cooldowns, and he's Lich Bane focused. Anytime Niels is in range of anyone important, Maple Q autos him. And Maple's better at that than Niels is.
See a different build here from Sword Art. Good flash here by Soaz, dodging Stake Ultimate. Collapse on the top from Maple though. Sidestep Cocoon.
Wow, Soaz dodged that. Well slowed by Stake's Q. Do have to note Stake isn't maxing Q with his last spell. Origin trying to cross mid.
But they're afraid. Even though Malphite ulti is down, the whole team is mid lane. They're not even attacking this turret right now. The minions all die off.
Maple's very far off though.
That's huge wall.
Wrong side of the wall. That is a big one. He eats him as well. Tahm Kench will get the first one. Mithy gets the kill credit. The knockup goes only onto the support, and they push in, and they caught NL. Goodbye. 3 kills for Origin.
And these are 40-second death timers with a minion wave in tow. How much can Origin get out of this, especially if Soaz can stop the recalls?
Flash moves completely lost in rotation here. Their base is getting smashed.
Oh my god. Soaz, he stopped both recalls. Origin's gonna get a lot.
No one's in the base at all for another 25 seconds when the respawns come through. The inhibitor is a formality. Meanwhile, Mithy joins for the fight onto Stake, so they're taking a finger, an arm, and maybe the whole body. Inhibitor will drop. The minion wave is gone in mid. There's no comeback there.
Maple's gonna go for a kill here, though.
Soaz is out of mana. He puts a shield onto himself. The flash in. There's the Chaos Storm. There's the kill. Maple is scary. Mithy's shield's going to end. There's another attempt, but a great wall comes in. The double stun in, but still a double kill for Maple.
Respectable play on both sides there as Peke teleported into the end of that fight.
Yeah, and both of these very big losing fights have come due to just a massive amount of disrespect for the core elements of a champion. Origin lose when they don't respect the Malphite ulti. Flash Rules, they lose when they don't respect the Nivea's kit. She can alter the pathing in these very clutch fights here, because look at this wall coming down from Xpeka right here. Zones of Sword Heart, and then Karsa goes in afterwards. There's still so much zone right here, and then Soaz starts annoying Stake in the back. By the way, Stake did not have ultimate. He used it earlier, so...
Yeah, there's no way they can punish within that corridor, so the instant that Flash Wolves re-engaged, it was a big mistake. Unless Maple was in that fight to begin with and could land large amounts of AoE, but he was very easily zoned away by Soaz on the bottom side of that fight with now a death cap on Luke.
And Abyssal Scepter coming in next, really making sure that these guys can survive this high uptime damage Victor build, who just wants to be a team fight machine at short range. The persistent damage of a Lich Bane, Niels really wants it. He feels so safe.
Yeah, this is the aggression right here from him, but the Malphite teleport is in. Where's the fight?
Oh, they're going to go back on towards Sword Art. Mithy tosses himself backwards. Niels runs away, dodges the rocket. Sword Art, Black Shield on himself, Locket as well on him. But a few more attacks will do it. There's the red, there's the kill for Niels. And Amazing finds the knockup on a Karsa. Gravity will buy some time, jumps over the wall to the Wolves. The Karsa's flashless. He's got nowhere to go.
And this was actually just a fantastic teamfight realization from Mithy. Instead of tunnel visioning and throwing himself forward, he went backwards and killed the threat of a zoning Sword Art. Sword Art was about to move in the back of the Origin lineup, press ulti on 4 people. This would allow Stake to get a 4-man ulti off. But they realized if you get flanked, what you do is you engage on the weakest part of the flank. Take that out and you make that your escape route. Exactly what Origin did, and they win the fight convincingly.
Gonna greed for the bot lane. Tier 2 should be easy with 2 members dead. And we take a quick look at the scoreboard. It's only 3,000 gold apart, and Flash Wolves are actually still ahead in kills as a team. This is still a neck-and-neck battle, and with Baron down for these respawns, both teams can contest that objective.
Yeah, so Tahm Kench comes in on one side to begin this one, which is actually what split up Flash Wolves to begin with. Obviously good play by Mithy, but then Niels is playing confidently on the other side.
I lied. I completely lied. They brought Sword Art in. I saw him flank right there, but he was just pulled to the side.
Yeah, that was the Kalista Tahm Kench combo that you dream of when you see the champion kits, and they pull it off at Worlds here. So
makes
pretty
my
awesome.
point invalid.
We know what's great
Don't worry
is
about it.
even though we don't see much Skarner anymore at Worlds, We just
Skarner Light.
Skarner
Build your
version.
own Skarner.
I mean, is this like the better Skarner though, or is it the worst one? I guess it requires more setup, but the fact that it happened at all is pretty great.
Yeah, and I do have to point out that Niels has leapfrogged NL as far as power spiking goes right now. NL's still waiting on Bloodthirster, which he needs to be super relevant, but double lifesteal as well as Last Whisper on Niels and heavy amounts of protection, almost overly so. They used the Comp Kenji when he wasn't actually under much threat. Oh, there's the Anivia wall.
Karza has to jump away, and Amazing is already there for the knockup, but maybe he didn't want to go this way. Could have been a misclick, has to run and hide. Gets eaten by Mithy, who takes a fair bit of damage. Pushes himself back out. Amazing pops out of the stomach, and now
Where's the turn?
We're going to see Steak go in. Two-man knockup, Peke and Niels. Rocket on the side, Mithy gets the shield. Steak going to get dropped dangerously low. He does not go down, though, and NL tries to run. Flashes the wall, stays alive. Binding on the Niels' face. QSS on the chase, gets the kill on a rampage. Steak recalling dangerously, and Maple is crushing faces.
Whoa.
A double kill. Now the battle versus Niels. Gravity Well will get dodged away from. One more attack will do it. He's trying to hide. A stun from Karsa. Maple survives. It's a 2-for-1 overall advantage to Flash Wolves. Amazing on the chase. Smites in. Niels gets one kill. Maple gets a shield, but it's not enough. Two more in the cleanup for Origin. They win the fight.
Origin is just outlasting Flash Wolves in these team fights. So many ways for Origin to block and defy death. Flash Wolves just can't spread out their damage enough. Maple did a hell of a job on the outside of that fight to get the double kill, but you could see he could not do much more than that, and Niels was running amok.
Yeah, incredible tenacious composition here from Origin, and really just good use of the Devour, Fate Skull to reposition, and then just turning the fight at critical points. These shields repetitively coming in from Soas, keeping people alive, and now Origin setting up for an easy Baron. There's no way Karsa can steal this due to the amount of spears that will be in it.
And Karsa was even revealed on wards going back into his base, realizing there was no chance at all for the steal in the first place. So no contest is what's said here by the Flash Wolves. Easy rend, easy pickup. 5,000 gold lead plus Dragon, Baron.
Yeah, really not a good wall here. It forces them to go on the defensive and leaves all the options open for Origin. I think this is a bit of a mistake for Amazing following suit, but again, you see the tenacity of this composition. If you can just eat him, peel, and get pulled back here, and then they turn on Steak. Yeah. Even if the knockup misses, they still win that fight.
And you can see all the opportunity Origin creates with those plays, but now we don't have time for that. The fight was so long, time for the next one.
And we're gonna look for the steal, and yes, it's an early smite. Actually, a non-smite from Karsa, now a knockup by Amazing. Blue team does get Dragon number 2. And now Flash will forced to run a great stun on a Steak. Another one on a Maple as well. He goes in, but the ult hits basically nothing. Nothing gets done. Maple survives, though. The first kill comes through to Peke, but Niels wreaking havoc in the back line. Double lifesteal, taking up a lot. Stuns don't mean enough, and the kills keep coming through. This could be a whitewash in the favor of Origin. A double for Soaz. Flash Wolves lose 3.
Flash Wolves, once NL drops, they're just running out of damage. Karsa's cornered in right now. Sword Art saying, see you later, I'm just gonna go to base, and you can just see Origin, all they have to do is commit to kill one of the carries, and Flash Wolves, they just run out of damage.
Yeah, Origin really taking over in these team fights. Also, what is NL doing with these Super Mega Death Rockets, using them at the start of fights when the burst just isn't there? And Origin has really, really long death timers. They might end the game.
They've got a Baron buff, they've got a full health AD carry, and they've got about 30 seconds to work with. They're going for the 2-0 right now. Nexus turret number 1 is in their eyes. Sword Art does not deal any damage. There is no hope anymore for the Flash Wolves. So in front of the home crowd, Origin start their quarterfinals 2-0.
You can't ask for a better start in a best of 5 than a 2-0 for Origin, but they have won 2 incredibly close and competitive games where both teams have held gold leads late into the match. You wonder how this will play on the mentality of Flash Wolves and Origin, because they have been capable of playing Origin close, but they are down 2-0, and now they're faced with having to reverse sweep to stay alive.
I mean, this almost exact thing happened in the actual group stage for the Flash Wolves. They started their series 1 and 2, and then they 3-0'd. They reverse swept their group, essentially. So the ability to dig deep and then come back for the last 3 very important games is certainly a possibility, though, of course, it is a difficult one. Origin are showing that they are good competitors here.
They need to start adapting to this Anivia pick, though. Punish it early. They blew Expectus Flash early game, didn't come back to punish them, even though they have a point-and-click knock-up from Steak's Malphite right there to really break that game up. In addition to that, they don't respect the way Anivia alters team fights. mostly due to the wall mechanic and then putting the ulti down. The amount of zone control in jungle fights, you don't find Anivia in the jungle. You will lose those fights. And that impacted the rotations for Flash Wolves, and they kept losing these towers in the mid lane for what seemed like no reason at all, and that's the way Origin kind of clawed themselves back into the game.
Well, Flash Wolves, they do get blue side next game, so they can spend one of those 3 sort of free bans on the Anivia. We'll see if they can get rid of some of the strategies here of Origin. But as we've talked about the game, we're going to throw it over to talk about that 2-0 at the analyst desk.
Thank you, gentlemen. Crepo hit on it right there. The Anivia pick, throwing Flash Wolves kind of for a loop here, 2 games in a row. Let's talk about that a little bit, Yamato.
I feel like my first initial thought was that on paper, it doesn't seem like Anivia would be a good pick into this Malphite composition that kind of just explodes. But it's working out simply because Flash Wolves keeps getting walled off in positions that they're not supposed to be in. But even then, like, I'm kind of expecting that Anivia ban because Flash Wolves has shown no signs of knowing how to play against an Anivia.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the thing that it is dictating the pace on is when the Flash Wolves are trying to help their side lanes, because they have such a strong mid laner in Maple, and Casa does stay around that part of the map. But then they cannot get to the side lanes quick enough because Anivia is walling them off, taking turrets as soon as they move to that. She's able to pressure blue buff. It's just throwing Maple through this loop, and I think that he's the one that's starting to really get affected by it because he never seems to know which way to go around the wall.
And that's really how Origin's taking this win, and we criticize them for being a little too slow, but in the end, they're doing the right things. They're out-rotating Flash Wolves. They're getting a lot of free objectives, and sure, it could have been done faster, but they're not losing a lot in exchange. They slipped up a couple times here, giving up the tier 2 middle and some towers in the side lanes, but for the most part, they're moving across the map correctly. And with the Anivia pick, as you mentioned, they can really stall a lot of time. And I think it also has a bit of a psychological aspect in the sense that when you're the Malphite, do you go for the Anivia? Because you're not going to be able to one-shot her in that exact same burst with the Victor and get her out of the fight immediately. With the Lulu shields and all that, it becomes a whole conundrum, and it's something that, since Anivia is so weird of a pick, I don't think the Flash Wolves are reacting well.
There's Flash Wolves just now, probably discussing what they need to do to turn things around in Game 3. Now, I want to get into the game a little bit. As you mentioned, these games have been going long, but the side lanes for Origin this time around had huge advantages pretty early in the game, whereas before we had to see 4 kills to net a 2K advantage. It was a 2K advantage based solely off of farm and a turret. And I feel as though Flash Wolves is benefiting from the fact that Origin is not closing it out for so long that they're able to win a few fights late game, but still making too many mistakes to really turn anything around.
It's like,
sorry. Let's give credit where credit's due. Like, LPL is a region that has always been known for great AD carries. Niels' Kalista is like, I think you called it like watching like a dancer move around the map. This guy was 106 CS at like 11 minutes in the game. I think he dropped like 7 CS during a laning phase. He is like amazing to watch play this champion, and his damage output, like the amount he ekes out of it, is just, it's phenomenal.
it's like something that I wanted to touch on is I want Flash Wolves to come into the game with the approach to lane swap, because it will isolate the mid lane, make sure it's 1v1, and it will, like, this lane will not get affected by the other matchups, and that's what I think Flash Wolves will have the strength, because on their sides, I feel like they are weaker and losing a lot of pressure.
Though I think the problem with going that, although the approach is correct, the way that we've seen these two teams play out is very passive, and they have a very weird idea as to how to get these objectives and which priorities to go for. So there's been very late dragons. So for example, that one game that we just had, Origin had a very commanding lead in the composition that wants you to come into them with huge objective pressure with the Anivia changes, that she can kill Baron and Dragon very quickly, but there was a lot of poor setup around the Dragon, around the Baron, and you need to accelerate the game to take those early dragons faster, secure them on the dot so that you can build up that 5th dragon advantage with an AoE damage composition that has so much multiple threats with the Anivia and the Hurricane. 5th dragon is a huge win.
Spawn, I want to take a look at some of the hesitation that we've seen, particularly on the side of Flash Wolves. We have Stake on Malphite, who can set up any fight he wants, literally at the push of a button, and yet there was so much hesitation playing into the Anivia and the Kalista, there are many missed opportunities.
Yeah, there certainly was, and the one that jumped out was the last team fight where they were at the front, but there were also some team fights where he got it right. So let's look at what this team comp was supposed to do. So you can see right now, Origin are warding up Baron. They're trying to control that side. They've just had a bad trade in the mid lane. And Stake is teleporting in because he's behind the team and he thinks they can catch him out. And he just walks into the middle of them. And because of the walls, because of everything, you can see no one really knows where to go. Origin make one mistake there. They don't respect the flash out of Victor, and they get completely crushed for it. And this is why you don't fight over terrain when Victor has flash, because he's able to transverse it, and he's so quick outside of the team fight once it gets rolling. They pick up so many kills off the back of this, but Origin, to their credit, only let it happen once the whole game.
I feel though, it's like, even though Origin didn't let it happen, I feel Flash Wolves had so many opportunities. And that's why, on paper, I thought Flash Wolves had the better draft. Because, like, I was screaming my lungs out because I saw those opportunities when people were clumped up, and I was like, Steak, please. Just ult, you know? Boom.
And you only have to kill the Anivia in that team comp because you still have a Malphite, and Kalista has to put so many spears in the Malphite to take him out. As soon as you kill the Anivia, you can siege, you can pressure, you can poke, you have a Victor. They just could not pull the trigger on Peke for some reason. Neil's too much of a priority.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's a sweet 2-0 start for Origin in this series. The Flash Wolves are going to have to bounce back if they want to stay alive in this best-of series. We'll be back with a look at Game 3 in just a few minutes.
Just chill, dude. Just chill.
Why can't you chill?
Why don't we sit here and chill, dude?
Why don't we just sit here and chill?
Yeah. Why not? Play some League and chill?
Yeah.
They're gonna eat him up. Spiders for lunch, and here we go. A bunch of burst comes in, forced to flash. Black Shield is on, and they're gonna turn back onto Amazing. There we go. A massive knockup, and here comes the chain CC and the damage. There come the resets, and Jinx is excited.
Welcome them here. No flash. Take care of the Victor.
Elise after, Elise. Victor on me. Victor is low. You can fight.
Double lifesteal taking up a lot. Stuns don't mean enough, and the kills keep coming through. This could be a whitewash in the favor of Origin. Origin start their quarterfinals 2-0.